If the players are not going to move on a revenue split versus derived revenue share off of a fixed number, what is your opinion on what happens?
Maybe the end of the WNBA. The players will move. There's not going to be a fixed number. It doesn't make sense. The way Project B may be, that could be the end of the WNBA. And I promise you that Adam Silver is thinking about that, and the players are thinking about that.
How real is that? How real is what you're saying?
That we're totally pinned to the NBA deals. Is that what you mean by unpopular? What I'm telling you is that if the players get too greedy, it will be the end of the WNBA. And that's not the end of the world for them. Because they have options.
The WNBA Players Union has officially authorized a strike. Aggressive salary demands are on the table. Owners have responded with their richest offer in league history. And now one respected sports executive says the NBA might simply walk away. Former Miami Marlins president David Sampson has made it public that if players insist on NBA-style revenue sharing, the WNBA could collapse. Media, fans, and social platforms are spinning. Some call Sampson dramatic, others call it harsh truth. So what will it be? Is the league really hanging on a balance? What does the 2026 season even look like? In today's video, we break down why a business executive believes the NBA could pull the plug any time from now, and more. So stick around and like this video if you're hearing this story for the first time.
I think we have some disagreement here, though, David, on how it is that you've been talking about the WNBA collective bargaining agreement. So, Trista, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I just saw The Athletic reported, David, that the WNBA PA is countering, and they asked for 33% of a revenue split. Now I think it's down to about 30%. I asked Nafisa Collier at this unrivaled event in the middle of the WNBA All-Star weekend what percentage they wanted, and we now finally found out what that was. It seems like this is getting contentious, but I guess to you, what's the percentage that you think gets this deal done?
Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to.
This story is finally exploding because influential business voices are suddenly speaking about the WNBA with a type of bluntness rarely heard in public sports negotiations. It started when David Sampson, yes, the same David Sampson who spent 16 seasons as president of the Miami Marlins and became known as one of the more financially aggressive executives in baseball, spoke on the Dan Le Batard show. This wasn't a random podcast moment or an outsider's opinion. Sampson has spent decades balancing payrolls, negotiating CBA terms, and reading the economic pulse of professional sports. So when a voice like his analyzes the WNBA's financial future, people pay attention.
But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. What he was saying is, will I go to the actual table? You don't need the commissioner of the NBA to be at this table at any time. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days, so it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations. But the biggest misunderstanding here is that the players in the WNBA want to have a pegged revenue number the way they have it in the NBA. And Adam Silver is saying no, because the NBA owners are saying no, because that's not taking into account all of the money that the WNBA owners need to profit and take off the table to pay down debt that has been accruing over the decades of losses.
The timing also amplified the shock. The WNBA Players Association recently voted to authorize a strike. That doesn't mean a strike will definitely happen. It simply gives the union permission to call one if negotiations collapse. But symbolically, it tells us this is no longer a routine salary conversation. It is an active battle for structural change. Meanwhile, the league and its owners have their own reasons to dig in. The league is negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement that will shape salaries, benefits, and revenue systems for the next decade. Both sides see this moment as historic. Players believe their popularity surge demands a major upgrade. Owners believe rising revenue potential must be balanced with years of financial losses. And right in the middle of these clashing visions, Sampson added gasoline, suggesting the NBA may simply walk away away if demands go too far. Hit subscribe if you think the strike threat is real leverage, and like if you think it's just headline smoke.
Of course, we found out yesterday afternoon the WNBA Players Association voted to authorize a potential strike. In other words, they could now strike at any time. We have also found out that the WNBA owners have a new offer on the table. And I got to tell you, if the players don't take this offer, they're idiots. They're idiots.
At the core of this dispute is a demand that could redefine the league forever: true revenue sharing. WNBA players want guaranteed financial terms that mirror the NBA structure, meaning a fixed percentage of all league-wide revenue goes directly to the athletes every year. Not selective profits, not one-time bonuses, not incentives that depend on profitability. They want predictable revenue participation, locked into the framework of their new deal. Their argument is clear. The WNBA has never been more visible. Television ratings have climbed, star power has expanded, social media engagement is soaring, and the league is approaching new media rights deals that could dramatically increase annual revenue. The union believes this is their window, what Sampson called their moment, to demand sweeping structural changes rather than slow increases spread over decades.
There's no excuses, because by the time you get to the final year of this offer, the final year of this deal that's on the table, the max players are making what you're making in Project B, $2 million. And the minimum salary, we're talking, I mean, this is more than fair. But if it is truly the revenue sharing angle the players want, before we get to the specifics of what has been offered, if it is truly the revenue sharing part that the players want.
But that ambition carries a sharp reality. The WNBA has never publicly reported consistent profitability. Most seasons in league history have operated at financial loss, supported by owners, investors, and the NBA umbrella. That is why Sampson and other business voices argue players are trying to claim revenue from numbers that do not yet exist. Still, players are saying that without fair sharing, progress is impossible. In your view, is this demand overdue or unrealistic right now? Let us know in the comments.
So that is why they're not having a meeting of the minds on any percentage, which is why the NBA is offering minimum salaries increasing like up to $1 million, because then you can absolutely chart and express what your expenses will be and then what your profits will be.
So, David, the reports are, I think the WNBA's stance is 15%. There is a percentage they're pegging it to. It's 15%. But the way they're getting around it is by saying, okay, and we'll have higher maximums for the top tier players. Mm-hmm. But also within that, we're going to take away some of the benefits, because all of these proposals up till now have had, well, this is 30% of revenues minus the benefits paid out like housing and transportation and all that.
Okay, so here's the deal. The WNBA owners just put an offer on the table that honestly is kind of wild for this league. Right now, the max a player can make is around $249,000. By 2026, under this offer, the max could hit $1 million. And if you include revenue incentives, it could reach $1.3 million. Yeah, you heard that right. The average salary would be about $530K in 2026 and could climb to roughly $770K over the life of the deal. The minimum salary is jumping to $250K. You see, what's crazy is that the offer is big, but still tied to revenue, so it's sustainable. Owners aren't just throwing money around, they're trying to make it work long term. Type equity in the comments if you think this is finally fair pay for WNBA players. Now, here's the spicy part. David Sampson, the former Marlins president, basically said something that got everyone talking. If the WNBA players keep pushing for a full revenue split, it could actually end the league. Crazy, right? But you've got to hear him out for yourself.
So what they're trying to say is, hey, we'll get rid of housing, but we'll have the max salary be higher. And I was just interested, in your experience, how many times do leagues do that? Where it's like, I'm going to try and cater to the elites because that's a big headline, and this is going to screw over the constituency.
No, it's funny. The union tends to do that more than we do, but we just keep a piece of paper and we put a value to everything. So we know the exact price per team to establish housing for the players. We know the exact price per percentage of ERISA benefits that we would give, which are retirement benefits. We know what it means for every team's payroll if the minimum is $250,000 instead of $150,000.
He's not talking drama, he's talking math. The league has run in the red for years. Owners still need to get back the money they've lost, and handing over guaranteed revenue cuts? That's not realistic on paper yet. Sampson's point is simple. Incremental gains over a few agreements make sense. Go for everything at once, and you could break the system. He didn't say Adam Silver or NBA owners are plotting to fold the WNBA. He just said if the revenue split demands are non-negotiable, the league could fail financially. It's a take it or leave it kind of warning.
So we're just trading off a column during CBA negotiations, where if we give this, we want that back. And what the owners always say is that they want to come out ahead on their columns. They want to get more than they give. So that's why there's no specific landing point to any issue during a negotiation, because all the issues are intertwined and you tend to settle everything at the end, and that's when an agreement comes. But until that point, you've actually agreed to nothing. Well, the truth is you agree to a bunch of stupid stuff that you get out of the way when negotiations first start, and then you get an issues list of like 50 items that are all negotiated sort of together because they move in lockstep. So you're really trying to get a landing spot for tons of issues, not just housing or minimums or tagging a percentage of revenue.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Sampson also pointed out something a lot of people forget. You know, WNBA players don't just play in the US. Many of them go overseas in the off-season and make way more money. Now, imagine a brand new, well-funded league, he called Project B, popping up abroad. Suddenly, every WNBA player becomes a free agent overnight. If that happens while negotiations are tense or a strike is looming, the WNBA could be in serious trouble. Not because anyone hates the league or wants drama, but because the money math would just push players away. You see, Sampson basically said, if the timing is right, the WNBA could get eaten alive business style, not politics style. Now, here's where David Sampson comes in with some cold math. He points out that even with 2.5 million new fans, that's not enough to make the league profitable overnight.
If the players are not going to move on a revenue split versus derived revenue share off of a fixed number, what is your opinion on what happens?
Maybe the end of the WNBA. The players will move. There's not going to be a fixed number. It doesn't make sense to me for the WNBA to demand that, for the players to demand that right now. I understand. The biggest thing they did wrong, they said this is their moment. And so they've put a lot of pressure on themselves to make huge changes in the collective bargaining agreement because this is their moment.
Owners have been running the league at a loss for years, and until the money side balances out, giving players a guaranteed slice of revenue could be financially reckless. It's not about hating the players or wanting to squash them, it's about structure. You can have all the hype in the world, but if the underlying numbers don't make sense, the league could collapse.
What you try to do is make incremental benefits through the course of multiple agreements. And so I don't think they should have gone for everything they're going for right now because they put themselves in a corner where they feel like they have to get it or it's like a major loss.
What did you say on the front end of this?
He said the end of the WNBA.
What are you saying is going to happen if...
let's be clear, Dan. People are not talking about this enough. We talked about it on the sporting class. And obviously, you know, John Skipper's involvement in Unrivaled. But you also have talked about what Project B is. You understand there are players who are getting paid multi-millions of dollars to go play in another league in another country.
Sampson really pushes back on the idea that a shutdown would spark mass outrage. Sure, a lot of fans care, but compared to the total U.S. sports audience, the percentage following the WNBA closely is still small. So yes, public sentiment favors the players, but business reality favors the owners. It's a clash of stories versus numbers, and both sides are right in their own way. Hit like if you are among those that believe this is all for the better. Most WNBA teams are owned by NBA owners, which means deep pockets, massive leverage, and patience. You know, they can sit back and wait. Adam Silver has always been about financial discipline. He's not about to just hand over revenue percentages without seeing the numbers make sense.
This is the moment. If you had any ability to invest and you wanted to start a league to compete with the WNBA, this is the time. Every player is a free agent. All of them want money and need money. If you have a well-capitalized and well-funded business, the way Project B may be, that could be the end of the WNBA. And I promise you that Adam Silver is thinking about that, and the players are thinking about
David Sampson's point is simple. Owners spent decades running the league at a loss. They want to be repaid before changing the rules of the game. If the players strike or push too hard, the owners don't panic. They can wait it out. If the league folds, guess who loses less money? The owners. But the players are the ones risking their careers and contracts. So yeah, the balance of power leans heavily toward the business side. Owners can weather the storm financially, and that gives them leverage over negotiations. Players may have moral, social, and cultural weight, but in a numbers game, money talks. Now here's the timeline as we know it. The players haven't officially rejected the owner's offer. The union has authorized a strike, but there's no schedule yet. It's just a tool for leverage. Negotiations will continue through 2025, and any strike would require a majority vote. Owners are still focused on securing profits from media rights before agreeing to major revenue sharing.
How real is what you're saying? How real is it to be possible, the idea that because you're meeting a moment where profound asks are being made of a business by a group that has never been stronger than it is right now about asking for money, in a culture where it will be very unpopular if the WNBA does what you're saying, how probable is that?
It'll be unpopular if the WNBA folds. Unpopular to who? To the large majority of the... I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. If what you're saying that there have been expansion fees paid and they're trying to expand and they've got broadcast deals that were totally pinned to the NBA deals, is that what you mean by unpopular? What I'm telling you is that if the players get too greedy, it will be the end of the WNBA. That's not the end of the world for them. Because they have options.
Remember, David Sampson is making a prediction, not issuing a warning from Adam Silver. There's no confirmed shutdown planned. This is about risk, leverage, and strategy. How far can each side push without breaking the league? So where do you land? On one side, you've got the players asking for historic pay increases and real revenue respect. On the other, owners are saying, hold on, make the league sustainable, turn a profit, then partner. David Sampson warns this is a crossroads. Push too far and the WNBA could collapse, but settle smartly and salaries explode. Who's right, owners or players? Like and subscribe for updates as this business war continues. Thanks for watching.